3 ways to make focus when photographing the Milky Way. Hello PHOTOPILLER, Rafael the Bar here. When it comes to photographing the Milky Way, deciding where to make focus will depend on how the elements are distributed in the scene. For example, where your subject is close or far away from the camera. And of course, it also depends on your personal taste. Would you like to have everything in focus from front to back? Or maybe you just want to make sure that your subject looks tack sharp in the photo. Or instead of your subject, you want to make sure that your stars, the stars, look tack sharp in your images. And in this case, you don't really worry too much about sharpness in your foreground. Long story short, depending on the scene you're photographing and also on your personal taste, there are mainly 3 ways to make focus when photographing the Milky Way. Option number 1 is to focus at the hyperfocal distance. And the hyperfocal distance is just a distance. It depends on your camera sensor, size, the focal length and the aperture. And if you make focus exactly at the hyperfocal distance, everything from half of this distance till infinity will be acceptably sharp in the photo. But most important, if you focus at something that's behind the hyperfocal distance, then infinity will be acceptably sharp too. The stars will look acceptably sharp too. And this is very convenient. So if your subject, a tree or a formation, falls behind the focal distance, all you have to do is to make focus on your subject to be acceptably sharp too in the photo. Also, I want to mention that this technique is amazing if you have nothing super interesting that's super close to the camera, of course. So imagine a subject behind the focal distance and the stars, the Milky Way in the sky. That's the perfect situation to use this technique. And actually in the PhotoPills team we use this technique a lot. We use the hyperfocal distance focusing a lot. It's so simple. And how do you calculate the hyperfocal distance? Super easy. Go to PhotoPills and in the Pills menu you have the hyperfocal table where based on your camera, I'm using the Nikon Z6 on the top, and based on the focal length, aperture 2.8 for example, f2.8 and focal length 14mm, the hyperfocal table is telling me that the hyperfocal distance is 2.33 meters. And if I tap on the AR button, I'll be able to visualize the hyperfocal distance. On the floor is this blue line here. So if I'm focusing on something that's behind this 2.33 meters, then I make sure that the stars will be also in focus. So with the AR view, I know where the hyperfocal distance falls, so I know whether my subject is behind the hyperfocal distance or not. Super useful. So this is the hyperfocal table. You can also use the classic depth of field tool where you have here, you can choose the focal length, of course, let's say 14mm, and the aperture f2.8, for example, for the Milky Way. And here I have the hyperfocal distance, 2.33 at the top of the table. And last but not least, and super important, you can use the planner. And when you plan your Milky Way shot, for example, here I have a shot planned while the Milky Way arching above the lighthouse of Favarich, I can tap on the map settings button here next to the plus and switch on the depth of field map tool. And this tool is amazing because it allows me to visualize the hyperfocal distance on the map. All I have to do is to set the camera, the focal length, 40mm, the aperture, 2.8, where I'm focusing on the black pin, so I'm focusing on my subject. And here on the map I have the hyperfocal distance, this blue circle here, 2.33 meters, so I know that if I focus at something, in this case the lighthouse, that's behind the hyperfocal distance, well, almost everything will be in focus. Actually, on the map I also have the depth of field near limit, 2.21, so it means that if I'm focusing at the lighthouse, I'm gonna have from 2.21 till infinity acceptably sharp. Of course, only the lighthouse will be tack sharp because it's where I'm focusing at. But it's good enough. I'm not really obsessed in getting the stars super sharp. Okay, option number 2 is to make focus on a star. Use this technique if you want to have the stars tack sharp, pinpoint the stars in your photos, and if you don't mind losing a bit of sharpness on your subject and on the foreground. Obviously, this technique looks great when your subject is far away and there is nothing interesting on your foreground. For example, when you're photographing a vast landscape at night. making focus on a star will give you great results. And to manually focus on a star, all you have to do is to find a star with your LCD of your camera and do a digital zoom on the star, and then move the focus ring on your lens until the star on the LCD looks like a super tiny, the tiniest possible dot on the screen. Of course, when you think that you have the smallest dot, then you take a test shot and you check on the LCD that the stars look like pinpoints and not large dots in the photo. Because it is not easy if you don't have good eyes. If you have the eyes I have, which are not very good, then it's hard to understand when the star on the LCD looks the smallest as possible. So give it a try. Take a test shot and make sure that you're getting pinpoint stars in your Milky Way shots. Okay, and technique number 3 is a lot of work compared to the 2 previous ones, and it's focus stacking. And to do your focus stacking, all you have to do is to take a photo focusing on the stars. So you take your sky shot focusing on the stars, and then for the foreground and your subject you take several shots focusing on different distances. So later when you combine all these shots in Photoshop, you make sure that you have everything from the very front to the very back. And the stars, of course. As I said, focus stacking is not easy. You need a bit of practice, and also depending on the type of subject you're focusing. For example, if you're photographing flowers or plants or trees, it can be tricky, but there is nothing you cannot learn. So if you wish to learn focus stacking, don't miss this super master class by the great Isabella Tabacchi. It's a great master class, and you'll learn her techniques on how to do focus stacking. She's really a true master on focus stacking. So don't miss it. Now you wish to learn more on how to photograph the Milky Way. I invite you to download and read and study well our super detailed Milky Way photography guide. I'm gonna leave a link in the description of this video and in the first comment below. Download it. And as always, if you like this video, give me a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next Wednesday in another video. And remember that you have the power to imagine, plan, and shoot legendary photos. Bye!